Difficulties. That is fun. There we are. Okay, welcome to the first Whiteboard Wizard session around branding or any topic around that. My name is Joel Kelly. I have been in the branding and marketing world for 25 plus years. So I might know a little bit when it comes to these topics. I help brands be heard, be seen, and be known with confidence and clarity. And today, I'm going to help you understand that with the client journey. Now, as we can see right now, it doesn't look like much, but we're going to unfold, we're going to unpack, we're going to add some things, and it's going to become a lot different. So let's get into our whiteboard session. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to put them in the chat. I do have the chat window up, and so I'll be taking questions once I get through certain things. So let's get started. Gotta love technology. Okay, so right now it does not look like DNA at all, for whatever reason. But if we're looking at the different points, we're going to be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay? And this is going to start adding into that double helix structure. But for now, this is where we're at. So let's start adding some layers and depth to this concept. Now I'm going to need this area, so I am going to get rid of this because I'm going to need all the space that I can get. Okay. So we have the first part, the entry part, and we're going to call this, and hopefully I write it in the right area so you can see it. This is called awareness and perception. This is the start of the journey. They don't know who you are. They know nothing about you. They may have heard you. They may have seen one of your ads. They may have seen you on LinkedIn, but they don't know anything about you, and they don't necessarily you haven't developed any kind of authority or whatnot. The next one we need to consider is called reason and consideration. The reason and consideration is 2 and 3, and I'll explain why there's 2 of them in just a bit. Then we have number 4, which is the emotional and acquisition. This is where they buy, this is where they purchase, and this is what that's about. I wrote it a little bit high, so I'll work on that. Okay, then the other one is resonance and retention. And this one obviously is very overlooked in a lot of businesses, and so they don't really focus on that one for the most part. They'd rather go out and get new clients than retain clients. Then the 7th one, and again, we follow the same pattern, 5 and 6 are both resonance and retention. And again, I'll get into that in just a second. So, and number 7 is ideology and advocacy. This is where you get your raving fans, you get your, all the people who are so excited, they've done, you transform their lives, and they're ready to go out there and share with the world what you got. So, given that, let's look at this. We have awareness and perception, we have reason and consideration, we have emotional and acquisition, and we have resonance and retention. And we also have ideology and advocacy. So 1, awareness and perception, 2 and 3, reason and consideration, emotional acquisition is 4, resonance and retention is 5 and 6, and ideology and advocacy is number 7. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line, just an invisible line or whatever. And we're going to draw an invisible line, and we're going to add some layers to this. Okay, so we know right here. So why did I draw this line? Because 2 and 5 actually represent something completely different. So on the top here, you would have It's going to get a little busy and it's going to get a little messy, and I do apologize, but I'm trying to unfold and unpack everything. You have short term, so we're going to just call this short term, and then you have down here, you have long term. So what does that mean? That means 2 and 5 are going to be short term activation points. You can call them activation points. You can call them buy nows. You can call them things that build that authority or credibility that add on those supportive add-ons to your main offer. And we're going to get into that in just a second. And so you have, and then after they go through your main offering, what does that continued support look like? What does that look like? What courses do you have, or what things that they can watch that will help them in an instant? We're thinking quick, just to help them, to get them moving along. And then we have long-term nurture, and long-term nurture is about the brand building concept. This is the long game. This is the short game, right? And so you have the activation points in between the long game. And right here is you have reason and consideration. And so for reason and consideration, what is something, if they're not going to just buy, how can we build that trust? How can we build that authority? And what can we do? And so one of the things as far as to understand is you want something that will potentially lead to your main offering, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So your main offering, think of it kind of like a pizza or a hamburger, right? So you've got your bun, you've got your burger, and that's your main components. And those are the different pieces. And then now what you're doing is, hey, I want some lettuce and I want some tomatoes. And no, I want some bacon over here, and those supportive add-ons. Or you're like, hey, man, I want some Chick-fil-A sauce or whatever. Not affiliated, not represented, just making a comment. So so you've got to figure out kind of how you want to build your burger, and you've got the meat on it right here, which is that main offering, which gives them exactly what they need. But we need to get to this because there is no authority, empathy, nothing has been built so far. And so for you to come in and be like, hey, you should buy my stuff right over here to 4. Buy my stuff. I'm great. Awesome. Look at me on LinkedIn. Look at all the stuff. Look at all the things I've done. When you haven't developed that authority, you haven't built or bridged that relationship with things that matter to them. And that's really important. And so when it comes to number 1, what this one should be is what we should think about this as a qualified. So I'm just gonna qualified lead gen, right? So it's something that they go through, whether it's a quiz. For us, it's the archetype quiz. You go through it, you take the quiz, it shows you're engaged, shows you're interested, has a ton of value with it, and whatnot. And then it leads us into the next aspect of things, because what we want to do is we would like to have a conversation with you. And so that's a long game and that's a long term. So we would like to have a discovery session with you. That's what we do. And so we have our archetype quiz here as number 1. But what do we have here? Well, we have opportunities for, we have courses. We have lots regarding on the archetype quiz. We have on-demand consulting. There's all sorts of things. You've got to figure out kind of what works for you in that activation point. It's like, hey, I need help now. That's great, but I need help now. And so like in consulting and coaching or whatever, we just say, hey, we've got on-demand coaching and consulting. Do you need it? We got it. Okay. And then what you could do, I guess, is, again, it really depends upon this main offer, as everything kind of pivots off this main offering, the single offer in which you offer. That doesn't create confusion. And I can probably do a product strategy and why that's important at a later whiteboard session. But for now, that's where we're going to be at. And so we have the discovery session, and let's just say we're just going to call this the on-demand consulting. Okay, let's do us, I guess. Okay, and then you have the different options. And so all of this is building that momentum and reason and considerations or why they want to. You can also do a discover session. You can have more than one. So you don't have to think of this as like, I just have to have one. But if you get one solid, that's really good. And so what I would do is you could also have maybe a email campaign broadcast, that email nurture campaign, if you will, right? So an email nurture campaign, that's also really great. And again, this is really more of like a rule design of where things belong and how they go. But the really important part is when we're moving past and after the offer, because this is where a lot of brands, there's a lot of where businesses that I've seen, they failed. Cell phone companies are notorious for that. They're really good about getting new clients. They love getting new clients, get a new phone, get this. But if you've been there with 17 years, they don't care. They don't do anything to help you. They're like, oh, you get an upgrade or within the qualified or whatever. It's better. And that's why they get all this hopping around when it comes to, because there isn't really that loyalty, that brand loyalty, if you will. And because there's nothing for them that, makes them want to stick around, right? All right. So we're going here and we have our main. This is right here for us. This is our brand strategy frameworks and our blueprint, right? So that's what ours is. And we're just going to call it the Big Bang, right? And there's 3 different ways that you can digest that, whether it's the self-guided or it's a group session, or if you need that one-on-one treatment. Okay, so we have those options, and that's the main offering it supports. Then we have over here, now that they've got done with your main offering, how are we going to continue that relationship and increase that resonance and retention? And this is important. And so we have to look at it. So for us, we have the product strategy. So product strategy, and we have the client journey, right? And we have quite a few other things. And of course, you can have on-demand consulting and some different pieces. Now, if you want like ongoing support or whatever, then we have monthly packages for coaching and consulting, right? And so coaching or consulting, depending on what your needs are, right? Consulting is more of like guiding with questions, and consulting is strategically doing things, helping you, laying things out, more the brand alchemy of things. So monthly package coaching and consulting. And then here we have what's called our ambassador program. And so after ambassador loyalty program. All right. And so that's kind of way it is for us. Here, I'll just say this, the architect quiz. There we go. And that's our qualified lead gen. So it's showing your time, you're investing into the archetypes, you're taking it, you're serious. And so now we've got to see where you want to go in the difference. You can have them join a community if you don't want them, that you want to have a conversation, get them in there. There's so many different ways that you guys can do this that works for you. But the main thing to understand is they don't know you at all. And for you to think so is pretty arrogant. And so you've got to learn, you've got to develop that value. You've got to meet them where they're at. You've got to demonstrate and say, hey, I want to help. I'm willing to invest in whatever that is. And then you move them slowly through the client journey. And so you're saying, can you go from 2 to 4? Yes. Can you go from 1 to 4? Yes. Can you go directly to 4? Yes. But you're going to end up doing 1 with our process, because this is the key part of it. So Do you need a discovery session? No. If they want to buy now, let them. And do you need to have the continuations and package in here? This is really important because this is what a lot of businesses don't focus on. And that's longevity and the added value in which you can get. The supportive is that added value piece, right? And so if you're looking, so now they're awareness and perception. Now they're starting to consider like, okay, this person might know what they're talking about. And so, and now they're said they're ready to buy. And so you can lay this out kind of however you think or how you feel that it needs to be done. So if you guys are taking notes or looking at everything, I'll kind of give you a little bit to kind of process what needs to be done. And we'll go from there. Okay. So given the fact that we have the qualifying lead, let's go back to that. Why is that important? So a qualifying lead is right where they're at. They might be frustrated, they'll be overwhelmed or whatever. They're in a world of hurt. They are in pain here, right? They are in pain. So let's do something a little bit different. I'm going to erase some of this stuff so I have some more room. Again, like I said, I'm building on things. Let's just do here, and I'm going to call it a discovery session here. And then we will call this just monthly package consulting. So you can kind of see that there. Now I can do here. So your client right now, they are in, oh, cool. Doesn't work. Pain. Okay? They are in pain. And we need to get them to hope. Okay? We need to help restore that hope and restore. So their pain. So by understanding that pain, understanding the different parts. So in branding, a lot of people, they don't understand their identity. They don't know what they're there. They're following someone else's success path, or it worked for this brand. So then they're trying to copy that playbook or something of that nature. And so what we're doing right now is we understand the pain. We have to show that empathy. It's like, hey, man, I get it. I've been there. I've done that. It makes total sense. I get it. And so as we're going through and understanding their pain to get them to hope, what we're doing is we're meeting them where they're at, and we kind of want to be more human, right? We want to be more human in the beginning. So there needs to be more human touch. And you can automate later or at different points, but you haven't built a relationship with them. So you don't want them to feel like they're in a funnel, but you want to feel like they matter, they have value, they're important, they belong. 3 things fundamental about humans. All right. So what they long for. So they value, purpose, and belong. It's really that simple. And so if you have value, purpose, and belong in your offering and what you're doing or whatever, there's like, hey, man, I can get behind that. That sounds exciting. And so in the beginning, what we do is there's some automations and there's some different pieces. But when it comes to on board, asking questions, being available, we're about adding value as much as possible as what we can. I have a lot to add in 25 plus years of doing this. And, so anyway, whatever, and not everyone's path is going to work the same way. So I've got to listen to the different variables that matter. So do you. You have to listen to different variables that matter in order to flesh out what formula works for you, right? And so they're in awareness and perception. They're starting to get who I am. They might have heard about me from testimonials or whatever, but they don't know. They go through the quiz and they start feeling, and they get some answers. And they're like, oh, man, wow, this really resonates with me. This hits me deep. I didn't expect this. I thought it was a personality quiz. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. Carl Jung didn't design a personality quiz. And so, and I'll get into archetypes in a later whiteboard session. But and so they're like, okay, this person understands when they do things a little bit differently, little disruption there. And And so, okay, I'm curious. I'd like to know more. Yeah, man, I'm open to a discovery session. I think that's a good idea. At least see, it's not going to cost me anything except my time, which is the most valuable resource on the planet. Just keep that in mind. But their time, and I'm going to see if this is a good fit for me. Or, hey, I need help right now. You know what? I need it. I know I need it. There's something inside me that says I need it. Help me. I need it right now. No problem. Got a pathway for it. No big deal. But during these things, because they're in pain, and much like when you're dealing like psychology and whatever, I've been studying it for like 20 plus years or whatever, psychology, sociology, history, all sorts of fun stuff. But what you need to understand is that they're a mess. And so you got to kind of look at it sometimes like trauma in a lot of ways. It's just like they're not in necessarily a great place. And so I need to meet them where they're at. And that's important and part of building that relationship, that human understanding and that difference. And so you have the paint the pain. So you have paint the pain, resonate hope. So we paint the pain, understand, I get it, I understand what you're going through, but I'm gonna walk you through a process and we're gonna get to that hope. That thing that the result that you said you didn't think was possible, right about here is where hope is gonna be coming in. And then hope is gonna change to something completely different. But it's going to be amazing, and they're going to feel empowered, transformed, all sorts of other things that are going to happen. And it doesn't matter what kind of company it is. It doesn't matter if you're a restaurant. You can still follow this same pathway. You just have to look at it differently. You have to look at it creatively. And we've applied this to restaurants. We've applied this to manufacturers. We've applied this to Silicon Valley technology companies, coaches, consultings, trades, builders, developers. Oh my goodness, where else? Let's see, coaches, consultants, technology companies, web companies, marketing companies. Yeah, we have also for the secret weapon with marketing companies. But anyway, so we've applied this. You can apply this in a universal, and this is just a pattern of design, an internal pattern of design using DNA, which is the essence of life. And brand is about identity, and the identity and that essence, and that really essence of coming forward, and that resonation, and all that other fun stuff that happens during that unconsciously, not even with us really understanding. And so then we have the discovery session, and they're like, "Hey, man, I would like the big band, but I think I'm going to do it on my own." Okay, cool. We got an option for that. Or, man, I'd like the idea of a group, and it's good. It's the balance value for me, so that's what I'm going to go with. And I'm like, all right, cool, awesome. Well, we do it, a couple times a month. Go ahead, sign up, do your thing. And or it was like, no, I need some serious help. I'm ready to dig in. I need that day workshop. I need that intensity. I just need that extra help. All right, cool. Got that. No problem. And then after they go through it, they have different places. Do they have to go through product strategy or client journey? No, but it's going to add value. It's going to add layers of value, as you can see, of what they're going to learn. But we do this individually for them. We map this all out. We explain how this works. And that's kind of how that would work. And product strategy, as far as really understanding the offer, the single offer in which you're doing. And as you can see, the way that this is designed, that there is kind of a bottleneck. And you're like, why is there a bottleneck in here? And why would you be creating bottlenecks? Because then you don't have that scalability and growth. Well, it depends, because if you use this as kind of a qualifying thing for them to go to different stages, it kind of helps you let you know where there is. We have 5 different stages, but depending on, so they go through the qualified. So it doesn't matter if they're coming from a different channel. So let's say that these represent the different channels, and let's say there's 3. So let's say there's LinkedIn, let's say testimonials, and let's say some kind of webinar or whatever. And so you've got these 3 different channels coming in. I mean, essentially they'll create these, which are the genomes, which is where the DNA comes into effect. But for the most part, right now, let's just look at them as the different ways of coming in, but they all lead to that qualifying lead gen, that stuff. Okay, they've got it, the awareness and perception. they understand, they're ready to kind of move into that direction, wherever that may be. And so the reasoning consideration, and again, if they're not there, give them an option for a buy now, or give them and not to your necessarily your main offer, but kind of support your offer. And also you can do it as in kitty corner 2, 2, and 6. This is the long version. This is the short version. You can do that if that works for you. But again, you've got to use some creativity. You've got to think things a little bit differently when you're doing that. So far, do we have any questions? I've already covered quite a bit. You can put them in the chat if you'd like. I think I can see the chat. Yeah, I can see the chat. All right. So, okay, good. All right, no one said anything, so let's just continue. All right. So, awareness, perception, reason, consideration, emotional acquisition, resonance and retention, ideology, and advocacy. These are your 5 stages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Main offering is right here. That's your main offering. All right. Terrible writing. Apologize. Just listen to my voice. Please and thank you. All right. So the archetype quiz, we've got that going on. We have the on-demand consulting, discovery session, main offering, supportive add-on services that create a stronger resonance and retention, monthly package consulting or whatever, ambassador. Okay, so that's a client journey. The ambassador program is after now we've turned into raving fans, we obviously want to tell them where to go. And what we should do is use the same channels in which we're engaged here, and this will connect. So it actually will make 3 circles. That's where the silical aspect comes from, genius. And so all the extra work, so all the stuff that you're doing in your positioning, you're going to be doing the same here. So it's going to come full circle in that. And so there's a lot less energy wasted, a lot less effort wasted and whatnot. And so again, pain, now we can hope because of the offer, and we're continuing to strengthen that into, and we could call this transform, or we can call this empower, whatever one you want. Let's just go with empower for the moment. And helping people go from pain, hope to be empowered. And now they feel capable of taking on and doing what they need to. Now, so in regards to, so now we know that this is long-term, 3 and 6 is long-term, and we know that 2 and 5 is short-term, and we know that 1, 4, and 7 are constants. So 1, 4, and 7. And as you're bridging, like as you're doing like a different offer, so you create a genome that actually can point to, you know, where they can go back and forth. And so you know what genomes look like, right? So they're different colors and different things depending on the makeup and whatnot. I won't get too much into it because that probably get lost in the weeds. But for the most part, that's kind of how it works. And again, I'd really start off by being more human involved and then automate later. As you built that relation, after you built that authority, I think it's really important that then you can start automating a little bit more because they trust you. That's the thing. I think a lot of companies, what they do is they over automate in the beginning. And they kind of like, it's like, hey, I'm personal in this, but then you get these videos. Like there's this company that goes around and does a video, does a snapshot. Hey, I'm looking at your website and this and that. And look, I'm actually taking time, but that's an automated process. And they're not. They're just trying to trick you, which I don't think is really good when you're trying to develop, you know, trust. And again, let's add that word because that's super important. Trust. How everything we do, how are we going to build trust? And in the beginning of awareness and perception, you got no trust. They don't necessarily have confidence in you or authority or anything or whatever. And so we have to work in order for that trust to be built. So qualifying lead gen, it's multifaceted. We've got the on-demand consulting, discovery session, main offering, which is our big BAM, self-guided group or one-on-one. You got product strategy, client journey, you got monthly packaging consulting, and then you've got our loyalty program, which we call the ambassador. And so that essentially is your client journey in a lot of ways. And it's really, as far as like that simple. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have any other questions or anything, I see I have a comment. Thank you for the compliment. I can't see. This design life, appreciate it. That's Chris Green. Hey, Chris. So this is how you kind of do it. And then, so why you strengthen the relationships is by the different genomes. So you can go from 6 to 5 to 5 to 6. It doesn't matter. And it creates that DNA sequence. And it creates that infinity process as well, because this is half connects with this half. And so that's the silicle and 3 circles that make up that. And so there you go. That's kind of just a rundown of where, kind of how it works. Trying to think if there's anything else. These represent the channels. We don't need to talk about messaging. Okay. I guess the other thing is to understand where they are at in the pain cycle and where they're at emotionally, or where they're at mentally as well, because sometimes that matters. And you can do this quicker. You don't always have to like handhold them and whatever. That's not always great either, because then you get enabling and all sorts of other really terrible thinking errors. You don't want that. So you just, when you're moving them through, you know that you're like, okay, we're moving through, they're feeling more confident, we're building that more trust, but you can do it intelligently without you being involved. That's the other thing is that you could have your other team members or whatnot. So if you have a team, then you could say your discovery session is maybe not with you personally, maybe it's with one of your team members, because you're up here at a different, doing different things or whatnot. You can look at it that way. This could be a sales team, right? You can have a sales team here if you wanted to do that. So there's all sorts of different ways and layers and that you can address this. So I'm just giving you one example, but again, depends on all your variables and what matter. This is going to look completely different. But this is the intelligent DNA method when it comes to client journey. So there you go. All right. Well, I think I've answered it enough. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, comment on any of the social medias or whatnot. I appreciate everything. Thank you very much for watching and being a part of this. And have yourself a great day.